Keto. What is the keto diet and why is it so popular? Are all the health claims actually true, and most importantly, is it safe? If you're thinking of attempting the keto diet, then please watch this video first so I can give you the facts. Hi, my name is Sorcha and I'm a nutritionist and healthy lifestyle blogger from Ireland, and on this channel I help make healthy living simple because it doesn't have to be complicated. In today's video we're going to talk about the keto diet. There are a lot of diets out there, and you know I'm not a big fan of diets. The keto diet is basically a very, very low carbohydrate diet. Ideally, you're recommended to have about 45 to 60% of your overall calories, so that's all the calories you eat in a day, come from carbohydrates. You get carbohydrates in things like beans, bread, pasta, all those grains. You get them from fruits, vegetables. So carbohydrates are in a lot of foods. Now, the keto diet, it tells you to have no more than 10% of your overall energy calorie intake from carbohydrates. That's a big jump from 45 to 60% to 5 to 10%. So it's a very, very low carbohydrate diet. And like I said, carbohydrates are in a lot of food. So if you're on a keto diet, there are going to be a lot of foods that you are not going to be able to eat. The keto diet it originated in the USA in the 1920s. It was made to treat refractory epilepsy. And it was successful in doing that. It does help, and it's still used today if medication isn't working for epilepsy. Now, it was obviously taken over by the diet culture, and it does obviously, you're cutting out a lot of foods, so weight loss is something that would probably happen. Now, the main goal for the keto diet is to put your body in a permanent state of ketosis. What is ketosis? So ketosis is when your body switches from using carbohydrates as its main source of fuel, which is its preferred source of fuel is carbohydrate, to fat. So it burns fat. Sounds great. Yeah. So what happens is when you don't give your body carbohydrate, it tries to find energy from somewhere else. And it will try and break down things like fat and protein sometimes. So what your body does when it's in ketosis is it breaks down the fat into these things called ketones. So your liver produces these things called ketones, and your body uses that as energy. But your body doesn't just do that straight away. It takes a few days, about 3 to 4 days, sometimes longer, for your body to adapt to ketosis. And until your body adapts to ketosis, you basically feel like shit. It's called keto flu, and it's a real thing, and it's not pleasant at all. So imagine you haven't eaten in a long time. That's kind of what you feel like. Symptoms of keto flu include things like headache, fatigue, dizziness, gastro issues, so constipation, nausea, vomiting. You'll feel irritable, obviously, like imagine you haven't eaten. You're going to feel hungry, and you're also going to have trouble sleeping, so sleeping patterns will be disturbed. Also, you get really bad breath. It's called keto breath. And there are some other symptoms as well, but those would be the main ones. Another big symptom that will happen that week, and sometimes even right into when your body has started ketosis, sugar cravings. So you will literally dream about bread. Now, not everybody, but a lot of people. And that makes me kind of think, if your body is making you dream about things like bread and donuts and carbohydrate foods in general, is that not maybe it telling you that that's what it wants? Because that's what I would be thinking. Now, I knew the keto diet was a restrictive enough diet, but I really wanted to understand it before I made this video. So I looked on loads of websites to find out the foods that I can and can't eat. And I was actually surprised at how much you can't eat. Yeah, not can't eat. I would actually be better doing a list of things you can eat because it would be shorter. What you can't eat is any kind of grains. So that means no pasta, no rice, no bread of any sort. So like bread products, tortilla wraps, pita breads, pizza, anything at all like that. Any kind of beans, baked beans, cannellini beans, lima beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, none of those. Then you've got any starchy vegetables. So that's kind of any vegetables that grow in the ground. So you're cutting out potatoes, turnips, parsnips, all those vegetables, corn. There's certain nuts you can't eat, certain seeds you can't eat. There's most fruits. The only fruits you can really eat are berries and lemons and limes. And then you've got, it cuts out a lot of drinks. So most alcohol, you can't really drink any alcohol beverages. It cuts out fizzy drinks and stuff like that as well that you would maybe be looking to cut back on if you are trying to become healthier. The only drinks you can really drink on the keto diet is water, black tea. There's some other things, but they're basically water-based drinks. There's not much to them. And you aren't really even supposed to drink diet fizzy drinks either. Then you've got the sweeteners. So obviously if you're cutting back on carbohydrate, things like sugar, honey, maple syrup, these are natural, honey anyway is natural and maple syrup, but you aren't supposed to have them on the keto diet. But there are sweeteners that you would be used in making diabetic sweets and other things that are sugar-free. Now, as a type 1 diabetic, I found out the hard way that diabetic confectionery is not to be eaten in large amounts. In fact, it's not to be, I would recommend not eating it at all. But the sweeteners used are, they're laxatives, basically. You find them in laxatives. So they're not really, I wouldn't say they're great. They do taste sweet and they make your food taste sweeter. And I'm sure in small amounts, maybe they're okay, but no. So that's all. I've got a full list linked down below of things you can and can't eat so you can see for yourself. Very limited. Now, what you can eat in abundance is meat and fish and animal products. And I love a good steak just as much as anybody. I love my fish, so that's great. But that's a lot of animal fat, a lot of animal protein. And we do know from a lot of abundance of studies that saturated fat, and animal protein, if you eat too much of them, they affect your heart. They affect your overall health. In small amounts, in moderation, they're fine. I think there should be no problem there. But this keto diet, basically the only thing you can eat in abundance is animal products. Another thing I noticed was when it came to dairy, you are allowed some types of cheese you are allowed, and some types of cheese you aren't allowed. You aren't allowed to drink milk, but you are allowed to have cheese and cream and butter as long as it's grass-fed. And then there was certain meats as well. It said that to have them grass-fed organic. So it also looks like quite an expensive diet to be on. Organic, it's not really a health claim. It's not protected or whatever, you could basically call anything organic. So there's nothing much there. But I do know that things that are grass-fed tend to be more expensive. So meats that have been grass-fed, they will be more expensive. And that means that if you are on a budget, the keto diet probably isn't for you. And if you do try the keto diet on a budget, there's going to be a lot more foods that you aren't going to be able to have in your diet. Now for the health claims, because there have been health claims and some of them haven't really been looked into a lot, so I can't say they're not true. So I'm just looking at the ones that have evidence behind them. The first one is weight loss. This would be the main reason people tend to go on the keto diet, even though it was developed for treating epilepsy. It's weight loss most people go on it for. Now, the keto diet does make you lose weight, and usually quite quickly. But like most diets, it's not sustainable. So I highly doubt anybody would be able to stay on the keto diet for the rest of their life unless they really had to for a medical reason. Now, the thing is, the weight loss that you experience in that first while is mostly water weight. So the minute you start introducing carbohydrates back into your diet, you are going to put that weight back on. Even introducing like healthy carbs back in, you are going to put on weight, and that's going to be very hard for some people to deal with after going through all that, which is why if you are trying to lose weight, it is so much better just to try a healthy balanced diet. Yes, it does cause weight loss, it causes it quickly, but it's mostly water weight, and you probably will put it back on again once you start eating normally again. Now looking at the keto diet for treating or when you have type 2 diabetes. Now, there's two main types. There's a few types, but two main types, type 1 and type 2. I have type 1 diabetes. I'm insulin dependent, meaning I take insulin every day to keep me alive. My pancreas doesn't create any insulin. Now, because I'm on what's called an insulin pump, it gives me insulin all the time. I can eat carbohydrate, but I have to give insulin for that carbohydrate. Now, if you're type 2 diabetic, you won't initially be put on insulin injections or an insulin pump. You might be given medication for it, but what you will first be told is to look at your diet and exercise. If you can change your diet for the better and add in some exercise, then you can reverse really your diabetes. And that's why the keto diet sometimes would be maybe used for people with type 2 diabetes, because their body isn't either making enough insulin to deal with carbohydrates, or the insulin it's making isn't working right. So obviously the thing you do is not give your body as much carbohydrates to deal with, to keep your blood sugar levels down. Yeah, the keto diet for type 2 diabetes maybe is answer. It's not the only answer, but it is an answer. Now, if you have type 1 diabetes and you're taking insulin, or if you have type 2 diabetes and you have developed that you have to take insulin, the keto diet isn't safe, because what could happen is you could take your insulin and you aren't given the carbohydrate for that insulin. You will go low, or you'll take a hypo. And what can happen when you go into hypo is you can go into a coma or you can die. Hypos aren't very nice. You feel dizzy, you feel really tired, irritable, and then it can develop into going unconscious. You can take a fit. They're scary. So that's why if you are taking insulin, you shouldn't go on a keto diet. You need your carbohydrate for that insulin that you will be taking. Then the final one, like I mentioned before, the keto diet was made for epilepsy, and it's still being used today for epilepsy when all their treatments don't work. It's still being used for that, so obviously it still works for people. So that is a health claim that I would say is true. Another health claim I came across is that going on the keto diet makes you live longer. Now, there was like not even 50-50. There were some sources saying, yeah, this is true, and showing their evidence, and then there was other sources saying it wasn't true. So it was hard for me to decide, and I wasn't going to put it in, but then I came across a study. It was done in 2018, and it was done on like over, I think, 15,400 and something adults aged 45 to 65. And basically what it looked at was, it was a big long study. It looked at overall health, but it looked at whether eating a low carbohydrate diet or a high carbohydrate diet or an in-between carbohydrate diet. So the amount were recommended, which is 45 to 60%, which one makes you live longer. Now, the study showed that the people on the very high carbohydrate diet and the people on the very low carbohydrate diet, aka the keto diet, died before. Like, they didn't have as long a life as the people who were on in between carbohydrate diet. Well, 50 to 55% carbohydrate. So that shows that the keto diet actually doesn't make you live longer. And it especially showed because the reason why the keto diet is because, like I said before, it's very high on animal proteins, animal fats. It's very low on plant proteins. So plant proteins, like beans are full of protein. They're also full of fiber. So because of that, you're not allowed them on the keto diet because they have carbohydrate in them. And there's other plant proteins like that you aren't allowed. You aren't allowed legumes, so you aren't allowed peas. And a lot of vegan protein alternatives are made from pea protein or soya. Now, they aren't allowed on the keto diet because they're carbohydrate. So that means that you're kind of dependent on animal proteins for the keto diet. And like I said, that has been shown to increase risks of things like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. And so that obviously decreases your life expectancy a lot. You probably know by now, not a big keto diet fan, but don't worry, I'm not going to go on forever about the health risks, even though I probably could. So things like low blood pressure, kidney stones, which are not fun, had them, don't want them again. That's because it's a pretty high protein diet and it puts a lot of pressure on your kidneys, so kidney stones can be formed. Heart disease, like I said, a lot of animal fat and a lot of animal protein, and also pretty low in fiber. So your things like cholesterol and your heart and your overall health needs fiber. So if you're cutting that out, you're going to increase your risk for heart disease. And then obviously with cutting all that food out, you're going to have nutrient deficiencies. So fiber is a big one. This isn't actually like a health risk. It's more, well, like kind of maybe is like a mental health risk. But if you're cutting out so many foods and you're going on a restrictive diet like that, you're going to have less food choice. You're going to have less food enjoyment. And if you go out with your friends and they all decide to go out for pizza, what are you going to do? Pizza, you can't have pizza. It's not part of a keto diet. Are you going to bring something with you everywhere you go? Are you going to say, oh, I'm okay, and just watch everybody else eat? Or are you just going to leave early? I know people who maybe have dietary intolerances and allergies have to deal with this every day, and they will tell you if they didn't have to, they wouldn't. So putting yourself through that just for the sake of weight loss that isn't really sustainable, it's not it's not worth it. Now, there's not a lot of studies done on this, but I want you to think about how little high fibre foods you're allowed on the keto diet. And you know that fibre is important for gut health. Now, some of the symptoms for keto flu include gastro issues, so vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, nausea. So that would signal to me that your gut's not exactly happy. And why would it be? You're cutting out most of its foods. So we know that our gut has billions, trillions of gut bacteria. Some of them good, some of them bad. The good ones, we need to feed them loads of fibre. We need to feed them things like prebiotic foods, probiotic foods. And we need to make sure they're healthy. And on the keto diet, we're not really doing that. So our gut is going to suffer. Like I said, there's no long-term studies that specifically look at gut health, but we do know there have been studies done that low fibre diets increased risk of things like colon cancer and other gut issues. So you're cutting out your fibre on the keto diet, you're going on a low fibre diet, you're going to increase your risk for things like that. And it has shown in some, like, not long-term studies, but some studies have shown there are shifts in gut microbe diversity. So we want loads of different gut bacteria in our guts for it to be healthy. And on the keto diet, it shows that there's a shift and that our guts become less diverse, which tells me that the keto diet isn't exactly gut friendly. And we know that the gut is our second brain. If we don't have a healthy gut, we don't have a healthy body. Also, if you don't have a healthy gut, it increases your risk of things, mental health issues like depression. Now, I would be maybe depressed is going a bit too far, but I would not be happy if I had to cut out carbohydrates from my diet because I love my carbohydrates like pasta, rice, bread, anything carbohydrate. It would be very hard. So yeah, the keto diet, it wouldn't be one of my favorite diets to talk about because it's too restrictive. Why would you want to put yourself through that for weight loss when there's so many other ways of doing it? Like, even the Atkins diet would be better because at least you slowly reintroduce carbohydrate back into your diet, whereas the keto diet, you're just like, nope, cut them all out, keep them cut out for whatever time you finish the diet, and then you kind of go back to where you were. It's like you run a marathon and then you have to run back to the start again. So an argument some people might have for going on the keto diet is that carbohydrates make them feel like really sluggish, and they feel like when they did stop eating carbohydrates, or so maybe they cut back on carbohydrate first and they thought, oh, I feel so much better. That would be an argument, but then you do need to look at what kind of carbohydrates are you eating. If your carbohydrates in your diet consist of things like white bread, crisps, chocolates, sweets, burgers, like those kind of carbohydrates, yeah, you probably are going to feel better cutting back on those kind of things or cutting out of those kind of things. But you should try and maybe introduce healthier carbohydrate sources in their place, and you will feel so much better then. So in conclusion, probably don't even have to do this, I say stay away from the keto diet. If you want to lose weight, just do an old-fashioned, good, healthy, balanced diet. Things in moderation. You don't need me to tell you the things that you need to have in moderation because you probably already know. And instead of thinking cut out, think add in. So if you're somebody who doesn't eat a lot of fruit and vegetables, think, I'm going to add in more fruit and vegetables to my diet. I'm going to add in more whole grain stuff to my diet, more beans and peas and nuts and seeds. and then you find you won't have as much room for the other stuff then. If you would like to feel healthier and you think your diet needs a bit of a change up, but you just don't know where to start, then click the link in the description below. That will take you to my website where you can book a free 45-minute nutrition introductory consultation with me. And we'll go over your diet, what you think you need to change about it, and come up with like a game plan for you. No restrictions. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell and share. I hope this video makes you more informed about the keto diet so you can make an informed choice of whether you still think you would like to try it.